welcome. In this video, I would like to describe how to download and install Zotero, the bibliographic reference tool that I recommend to all scholars. I'd also like to demonstrate how to configure Zotero to work with Microsoft Word so that you will be able to automatically insert the citations and their complementary references in the academic papers that you write. Here I'm displaying the Zotero.org webpage. From here, you can choose to either download the application, or I recommend first creating an account with Zotero.org. With an account, you'll be able to synchronize the data that you store in your Zotero database to any of the devices on which you run the Zotero application. For example, I have multiple computers within my office, 3 laptops, a desktop unit, as well as 2 iPads and an iPhone. On all of these devices, I've installed Zotero, and any data that I save while working on one computer is automatically synchronized to each of the other computers. And this can be really useful if you use a combination of a desktop unit in your dormitory room or at home and a laptop while you're on campus. To create an account, click the Login button, register for a free account, create a username, enter your email, confirm your email address, create a password, and verify the password. Now, I recommend the password be relatively secure. I use an application called LastPass that automatically creates cryptographically secure passwords for me. These passwords can range up to 100 or more characters. I don't even know what they are, but they're stored automatically in my LastPass database. Once you've created your password, verify that you're not a robot and register your login credentials. From there, you can later choose to log into your account to access the bibliographic data remotely. It's also possible to share your library of bibliographic data with other scholars if you choose to. But by default, there's no requirement to share your data. You can keep everything that you store in Zotero private. Returning to the home page, to download the application, choose the operating system on which you'll be installing Zotero. So, for example, I'm working on a MacBook Pro, so Zotero recognizes that. I should say the Zotero website recognizes that and offers me that as my preferred download. If I were really working on a Windows computer or a Linux computer, I could simply click the link for that and then download that version of Zotero. It's useful at this point to also download a connector. Connectors are configuration files that allow your web browsers, and I'm using plural, so for example, on my computer, I have Safari, Chrome, Firefox, all installed, and I have created connections between all of those web browsers and my Zotero database on this computer. So regardless of which browser I'm using when I'm logged into my university library, or I'm using Google Scholar, I can have access to quickly downloading information from those resources into my Zotero database. So because I'm viewing the Zotero website using Firefox, the website offers me my preferred browser. If I were using a different browser, or if I just wanted to take the time right now to download the connectors for Chrome, Edge, or Safari, I could do that right now. I recommend downloading the application and the connectors right now, so you have all of that, all of those components ready when you install the application. This next step is just a little bit confusing. In addition to creating a connection between your browsers and the Zotero database, you need to install a plugin. Now, this page here, the list of plugins, gets fairly complicated, but I'm going to scroll down and show you the one that you absolutely need. I'm looking for the section about word processors. So here, in the word processor integration, I can download the Zotero word processor plugin that will work with both Microsoft Word and LibreOffice. With the plugin downloaded, with the browser connections downloaded, and the application downloaded, I'm ready to install all of them. I won't demonstrate installing the application, the browser connections, and the plugins because depending on your computer configuration, the menus that you see will likely be very different than the ones that are displayed on my computers. So I'll assume you've installed the application, you've configured it for use with your browser using one of the connections, and you've installed the word processor plugin. With the application installed, when you execute and run the program, you'll be looking at a screen similar to this. Now, the far left column on my screen shows a number of collections. These are folders in which I have downloaded bibliographic information and PDF files for articles that I've read over the last decade or so. If I open one of those collections, this is a short list of files that I've used during my demonstrations in prior videos. You can see that when I click on one of the items in a collection, I'm presented with bibliographic information in the far right column. I know that this article that I've selected was published in a journal. Its title is Learning Styles, Concepts, and Evidence. And I'm going to fix the capitalization of that entry. There were 4 authors, and I've organized my authors not in standard format, Harold Pashier, but I've organized them as last name, first name. I find that a little bit easier to use because we so often refer to authors just by their surname. I can see that when I collected this data from the library, an abstract was downloaded into my database. I know that the article was published in the journal named Psychological Science in the Public Interest, volume number 9, issue 3, pages 105 to 119, and it was published in the year 2008. There's an abbreviation to the journal. The journal was written in English. There is a digital object identifier assigned to this article. Now, DOIs become important during academic research because each DOI, Digital Object Identifier, is a unique string of characters assigned to a particular work. All DOIs begin with 10 period, but all the characters after the 10 period are unique to the article that to which the DOI has been assigned. Zotero also collected the International Standard Serial Number. It's the unique identification for the journal. You may have heard the term ISBN, International Standard Book Number. An ISSN is similar, except it's assigned to a periodical. You can see that I downloaded this article to Zotero on June the 6th, 2022. And then there's some other information here as to when did I last, when was the data added to my database, and when did I last modify the data. Now, today is June the 10th, so the reason the modification date is June the 10th is because up here in the title, I corrected one of the capitalization errors. In the center column, in which the title, the creator, the authors, are displayed, I have arrows, and from this I can open up the PDF file that is associated with this article. So here's a copy of the entire article stored locally on my computer. Here I've jumped to my web browser again, and I've gone to scholar.google.com, the Google Scholar search engine. I searched for academic research practices. I didn't choose this topic for this search criterion for any particular reason other than it's tangentially related to the topic of this video. As I look at the items that were found by Google Scholar, one of them stands out to me. Open innovation, research practices and policies. And just looking at the abbreviated abstract, this article looks like it might be of interest to me. So I'm going to open it. The PDF file downloads. I read the summary, also known as an abstract, and I find that, yes, this article is related to my current research interest, so I want to save it into Zotero. Now, in prior videos in which I demonstrated the use of Zotero, I showed you how to open a page on a publisher's website and download the bibliographic data from that website. Here I'm going to show you a trick that can save you a lot of time. As I am viewing the PDF file in Firefox, I'm going to click the button up here on my toolbar that was created by the Zotero connector. Remember, I said download 3 types of things from the Zotero website: the application, the connector to your web browser, and the plugin to your word processor. So this is the connector that's been installed in Firefox. When I click it, it takes a few seconds, but then when I move back to Zotero, you'll see that a copy of this PDF has been inserted in my database. Here in Zotero, the article's bibliographic information has been collected, and a copy of the PDF file has been saved into my database. Now, the magic that happened in the background is really kind of cool. So I'm going to do this process again, but I'm going to quickly move from my web browser over to Firefox. I'm not going to pause the video while I do this, so you can actually watch what's happening live on my computer. I will delete this entry from my library. So double check yourself now. Notice the article about innovation is not listed in my collection. I move back to my web browser, click the connector for Zotero, quickly move to Zotero, and you can see that the bibliographic data was stored and a copy of the PDF was saved. What happened just over the course of a few seconds was the PDF file itself was first put into my Zotero database. Then Zotero automatically read the text in the PDF, doing optical character recognition, and determined the title, the author, and other information about the article that's sufficient for Zotero to then talk to a repository of bibliographic information and copy that information here into my own Zotero database. So in short, what Zotero did was grab a copy of the PDF file, put it in my database, read the PDF, figure out what all the bibliographic data should be, and insert the bibliographic data into this record. Now, because I normally write in APA style, the title of the article has the wrong case for me, for my type of writing. So I'm going to change the title to sentence case and then manually capitalize the first letter of the subtitle. Now, I would have to do the same manual capitalization if there were any proper nouns in the title. So, here on my computer, stored locally within my MacBook, is a copy of all the bibliographic data that I need to create an APA-style citation and its complementary reference. And I've got a copy of the PDF file so that if I take my computer to the park where I don't have internet access while I sit outside, I still have a copy of the PDF file to read. Now, one of the cautions I have is sometimes when Zotero collects the bibliographic data and stores that data into my private Zotero database, errors in the data can be inserted. The most common errors that I've noted is in scientific papers, particularly around the SARS-CoV-2 coronavirus. When many authors are listed, sometimes 30 or 40 authors can contribute to a single paper. Not all the authors' names get included in the database. I've found that I can solve that problem by not grabbing the bibliographic data from the publisher's website, but instead bringing the PDF file into Zotero, as I've demonstrated here, and allowing Zotero to figure out who all the authors were. And then still sometimes other errors can crop up. For example, this article has data indicating it was published in February of 2018. That's useful, but I don't need the month. I only need the year. So you may find that you prefer to replace this 02/2018 with just 2018. It actually doesn't matter, because when you create your reference entries in Microsoft Word, the month gets ignored. So it doesn't create a problem for using Zotero with Microsoft Word. Now I'd like to demonstrate how to use this bibliographic data within Microsoft Word to create APA-style citations and references. And before I move to Word, I want you to note that there are 1, 2, 3 authors on this paper. That's important because when there are 3 or more authors, there's a particular type of citation format that we must use in APA style. I'll demonstrate that now in Microsoft Word. Here I am in Microsoft Word. I would like to make a statement about the article that I acquired through Google Scholar and saved into my Zotero database. Now, the first author was named Boggers. Now, rather than naming all 3 authors, APA style requires when there are 3 or more authors that the writer use the phrase et al. That's a Latin phrase. It's the abbreviation of et al. It means and others. So Boggers et al. Reported blah, blah, blah. Now, because I didn't really read the article I downloaded, I don't have anything intelligent to say about the content of that article. So I'm just going to use blah, blah, blah as filler text for this example. Now, APA style would normally expect that I insert the year of publication here. But I don't want to manually type the year. I want to allow Zotero to create the citation, to insert the year, and then automatically create the complementary entry on my references list. So I'll delete that, and using the plugin that allows Zotero to communicate with Microsoft Word, I click the Zotero menu option and add or edit a citation. Because this is the first citation in this Microsoft Word document, I have to instruct Zotero as to what format of citations and references to use. So I'm going to choose the American Psychological Association, APA, 7th edition. That's the version of APA formatting that's in use at the time of this video. And then I click OK, and I'm presented with this red box. Now, in this box, I can start to type either the title of the article or the surnames of the authors. So I'll type Boggers, and the article I downloaded is found. If I had typed Open Innovation, the article that I downloaded is also found. Either way works perfectly fine. I then click the blue named article. It inserts the citation that Zotero wishes to create. This is where I need to modify this information just slightly. Because I already included the words Boggers et al. In my sentence, I don't want that information repeated in the citation. So I can click the citation and say, omit the author. And then when I click out, I don't see a change on this screen, but as soon as I press enter, only the year 2018 in parentheses will get inserted into my Word document. Now, I have not pressed any keys other than those that I've stated here in the video. I literally typed Boggers and found the article. I typed the innovation and found the article. And then I said omit the author with a menu, with a mouse click, and then I pressed enter. Now, assume this is my paper. My paper's complete. I'm now ready to create my references list. Using the plugin for Zotero connecting to Microsoft Word, I add or edit a bibliography. Now, I understand that this is not a true bibliography. The word bibliography has a very precise meaning in academia, but it's still the menu option I pick. And what I'm left with is Boggers M, Cheeseboro H, Murdis C, 2018 Open Innovation, Research Practices and Policies, the journal, the volume, the issue, the page range, and the DOI. All of that information came from the bibliographic information stored in the record in my Zotero database, and I acquired the data by downloading the PDF and allowing Zotero to read my PDF and figure out, determine the appropriate data. And then I modified the title in Zotero. So I'm going to flip back to Zotero. I modified the capitalization of the title so it meets APA style. I made the modification in Zotero, not in Microsoft Word. And that's really important because I might cite this article in a different Word document, in another paper. And I always want the most accurate data to be inserted into the paper that I'm working on. Now, I recognize that the text in this document is not neatly formatted. That's okay. My focus for this video is the integration of Zotero and Microsoft Word and collecting data from Google Scholar and saving it into Zotero. So I want to show you that Zotero really can save you a lot of time. I'm going to flip back to Zotero. And looking at a different item in my collection within my Zotero database, I'd also like to cite this article. So I see the title is Learning Styles, Concepts, and Evidence. Come back to Microsoft Word. And I'm going to extend this sentence. Here, I want to add another citation, and I want it to be to that article that I had just found. So within Word, I add a new citation to I added sufficient words until I was able to find the article that I intended. Now, notice, I did not type the exact title. That's because I forgot it. So I typed a few words that I thought were likely to have been in that title. I could have also just typed the first author's surname, but for that, I also forgot how to spell it. So I will add this, but now here, I want to, again, make a little modification to the citation. I don't want to actually cite this article as the source of this data that is not reported by all scholars. I want to instead just make a comment to the reader that I would like to recommend that they see this document, that this document adds information that colors the arguments. So I can write the word see as a prefix. Press enter again, and it creates a citation to that other article. Properly, it notes that there are 3 or more authors, so it uses the et al. Phrase. It adds the word see, which indicates to the reader that if they'd like more information, they could go look at that article. And most importantly, here on the references list, it automatically added the entry for that Pashler article and sorted my reference list in alphabetic order. So the reason Pashler's article is the second one listed is not because it's the second one I added to my document. It's because B of Boggers alphabetically precedes P of Pashler. And to prove to you that the entries in the reference list are in alphabetical order, not sequence order, I'm going to cite a third paper with an author whose name comes between B and P. I can teach you something else along the way. I'm going to modify this citation here. So I'm going to add and edit a citation, and I'm going to also cite Irvin. And I press enter. Now I have a relatively complex citation. And the B of Boggers comes first, the I of Irvin is second, and the P of Pashler is third. I hope you found this video helpful. I encourage all students to use Zotero as a means of collecting the bibliographic data and copies of the articles that they read, and then using that bibliographic data to automatically generate the citations and the references in the academic papers that they write. Now, you may not write a paper in APA style. You may use MLA, Modern Language Association, or a different style. There are thousands of academic writing styles. Almost all of those are available within Zotero. I demonstrate using APA style for 2 reasons. 1, it's the style in which I most frequently write, and 2, it's the style that's most commonly used at American universities. So maybe I'm twisting your arm a little bit here, but I hope I've persuaded you to at least download, install, and practice using Zotero. See for yourself if it saves you time. I will offer a word of caution, though. Most students find that it takes about 12 hours of practice to become comfortable with using Zotero. The first few times you use it, you may notice, forget to adjust the capitalization of the title, or you may not recognize that the incorrect page range has been stored in your database, and you haven't repaired that before you created your reference entries. You'll get the hang of it with practice. Zotero is not difficult to use, but it is fairly complex. It has lots of capabilities. And the students who have used Zotero in my classes over the last decade or more have found that once they got the hang of using the application, it really did save them a lot of time and a lot of effort writing citations and making sure their reference entries are accurate is hard work. You don't have to do it. You can allow Zotero to do that work for you, which frees you up to concentrate on collecting good quality data during research and writing good quality arguments. If you can save an hour in writing citations and references for each paper that you submit, well, you figure over the course of just one semester, it's likely you're going to submit 10 to 20 papers across a series of classes. That's 10 to 20 hours of time you've saved. How you invest that time is up to you, but it's nice to have the flexibility to choose how you will use your time. I'm going to leave it at that for now, and I will wish you the absolute best of academic writing, and I wish you good success in all of your college level work. Bye for now.